Hello, everyone. Again, this is Senior Consultant Michelle Schaefer. Welcome to our Wednesday night team call. We're so glad to have you with us. I know it's been a beautiful day here in Dallas, and I know we have sports, baseball, football, all kinds of things, soccer, all kinds of things going on here. So we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to get on this call with us and share your Wednesday evening with us. We have a fantastic guest this evening. I didn't get a chance to speak with him at our last area team dinner. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to do that, but he's going to be on our call tonight, and I'm very excited to hear his story. But I'm just going to go ahead and introduce our host. I don't want to waste any more time. And so if you're not familiar with our host, this gentleman is an executive in our business. He has earned a 5-star trip. If you're not familiar with that, that basically means he went on a fantastic luxury 5-star vacation with all the top earners of the company and the owners of the company. He is also a businessman in his own right. He's had several businesses, a graphics company he sold for several $1 million, several barbecue restaurants that he had as well. He is extremely creative. He's brought us the 3x4 and the purge call that we all participate in on Sunday. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce my dear friend and mentor, Mr. Richard Laidler. Richard, are you there?
Hello, love. Are you there?
I'm here.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for doing your bit as you MC the call. I really appreciate it. You are the best. And welcome all you lovely chaps and chapesses out there on a Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. Way past your bedtime, and thank you very much for staying up in your jammies, cuddling your little teddy bear. I know Randall is. And especially for you chaps up in the Northeast. I see there's quite a bunch of you on the call who are up there in the Northeast. Thank you very much for spending your time on the call with us. And as I always say, for those of you in California, you've just finished your lunch, so you're just up for your afternoon nap. But that's it's good. But you've taken the time out to put some time into your business. Give yourself a pat on the back and say, "Well done, me." Because you're here and other people are not, because they're watching something that's not doing anything other than making them a little bit more brain dead. You are filling your brain with good, solid stuff, and a bunch of it's coming to you in an English accent, which makes it 10% more clever. Oh, dear, I enjoy that way too much. Anyway, so here we are, Wednesday night, 9 o'clock. So I'm very excited to bring our guest on tonight. I got to know this gentleman probably just a few months ago. I think I first met him at one of the Ambit team dinners that we have that Michelle was talking about earlier on. And I saw this guy, and, he's kind of looking like really young. He's got a similar haircut to me, and he's got this extraordinarily long, well-coiffured goatee. And I'm thinking, who's this guy? Next thing I see is a fast-track EC pin on his lapel, and I'm like, oops. I need to shush because I am not a fast-track EC. And so I was very keen to find out who this guy was, and I went to chat to him. And his accent and my accent were probably as far apart as you can get in English accents, because he's from I guess from the south. The way he talks, kind of like how talks like this. And I apologize, I'll never do that again. And of course, I sound like I've just come out of the Buckingham Palace for a tea with the Queen. So our conversation was very entertaining for others to listen into, but. And so you're going to have a little bit of that tonight. You're going to have a little bit of contrasting accents tonight. But I'll tell you this. I'm going to, as long as Randall allows me, I'm going to try and get into the real nitty-gritty about how this guy built his business, because he's a regular guy. You see him, and he's in jeans and a plaid shirt and, a shaved head. He's 33, 34, I think. And this guy's a fast-track EC. And, here I am, 20 years older than him. I've run businesses. And it took me more than twice as long to get to EC. Now, it's not a race. I do get that. When someone's got there so quickly, I want to know what he's got to talk about. So first of all, I'm going to bring this lovely, extremely handsome gentleman. It's nothing to do with his haircut and his goatee, but I've noticed how extremely handsome he is. I'm going to bring him on the call, Executive Consultant, Mr. Randall Foster. Are you there, sir? Okay, I saw on the wall earlier on, as I was looking, that I didn't see you there as a host. So hit *6, Randall, and that may unmute you. Are you on the call? Yeah, you're definitely on the call. You're probably talking, but you are. Let me see if I can unmute you.
Hang on one second.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, great. I just unmuted you. I saw that. Perfect. Randall, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and I can hear that accent from you, sir.
Well, hello, Governor.
Not bad. Not bad at all. Usually, Charles in the South, you struggle a little bit with that English accent, but you did actually very well. Well done. How are you, my friend?
Buddy, I'm doing great. I couldn't ask to be doing any better.
Fantastic. No, absolutely. I know you. I saw a check you posted one time. I think it was maybe last month, and it was like a few grand. I'm thinking, man, he's he's a new EC, and making quite a few grand in just I think it was just a weekly check as well. So that was freaking awesome to see that. So I know you're doing really well. But I want to kind of dive straight on into it. I want to kind of get the introductions out of the way because, Randall, I mean, you and I, we get down to it. When we're chatting, we kind of get down to the nitty-gritty, and I kind of like to bring that to the call because I know there's a lot of people who want to hear the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. But let's first of all kind of get the introductions out of the way because you are a new EC. You were at the EC Fly-In. And congratulations on that promotion. But
Thank you.
We got people from all around the country. I mean, we're literally Northeast California and down south and everything in between. And there'll be a lot of people who don't know who you are. So, can I ask you just to kind of just tell us a little bit about who you are, how old you are, whether you're married, unmarried, kids, no kids, what you were doing before Ambit, and then we'll talk about how you got into Ambit in a second, but just a little bit about kind of your history prior to Ambit.
Sure. So, man, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. I'm 34, so you were close when you said 33, 34, and I am married, and me and my wife been together for 10 years. I've got 4 kids, 15, 5, 4, and 2, and well, now I just have 1 dog, but I had to throw the dog in there for you.
Well, no, I just said dog. I've got a dog. I love that. Awesome.
I'm from Lipin, Texas, and it's a small country town. We got about 417 people in town, and we are surrounded by co-ops, and just about half the town is a co-op. So what I was doing beforehand, I don't know. You want me to just dive right on into that?
Yeah, just tell us a little bit about what you were doing before, because obviously, you didn't have TV when you were young. If you've got yourself 4 kids, so I want to know what you were doing when you weren't at home with your wife when you were out working. I'd love to know, kind of what your work background was.
Well, my work background has always varied. Most of it has been in automotive. I've done everything in automotive, from being a service advisor to a hood tech to selling cars. But when Ambit found me, I was working a security job at a nuclear power plant. I was a sergeant out there at Comanche Peak, which is in Glen Rose, Texas. And I've been there at that time I had been there for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a good friend of mine, he tried to show me the opportunity. And, hey, I was one of them. I was one of those guys that, I knew it all. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I didn't want to do it. Mm-hmm. I didn't want any part in it. And really and truly, I didn't even know what it was. He just said, hey, I think you're going to be good at this, and would you take a look at it? And I immediately, because at the time he was he was doing another health thing, and I kind of thought it was that, and so I immediately said no. But not to him. I just blew him off. That was he was my pastor at the time too, so I felt for certain.
Y'all going to hell.
I felt for certain I was going to hell. But fast forward a little bit, and he actually got my mother-in-law's boyfriend signed up for it, and they presented it to me again. And once again, I already knew that I didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But just something just clicked, and I can't remember exactly what was said, but I think it included my wife saying, "You need to take a look at this." And so I took a little bit closer look, and I actually paid attention to it. I was a stubborn one that had already made up my mind before anything came along. Mm-hmm. But when I actually took a look at it, it made a lot of sense. This wasn't a product. This was a service. And not only a service, but this was a service that every single person uses. Mm-hmm. And that really spoke to me. And as I dug in a little bit deeper, I started seeing, their motto, integrity over growth. And mm-hmm. that was one of the big things that that I teach my kids. I got a saying that I did not make up. I'm not trying to copyright or patent anything, but I didn't make this up or nothing. But I just told them, I said, there's one thing that a man has that can never be taken away, but it can be given away. And that's his word.
Right.
And, with this company basing, having a foundation on integrity, that really spoke to me. So I decided to go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, it's interesting you say that, because I know from my perspective, I'm going to go back to, how you got in the business and why it took you so long in a minute. But for me, because I've been in business, my own businessman, and my dad was a businessman, my grandfather was a businessman. Their handshake was their word. And, people say these things, never sacrifice integrity for growth. But you just take one look at our CEO, Jerry Thompson, and that man, he exudes, he just stands and his posture says that. At no time do I ever doubt that he means what he says. And I'm telling you, for everything that I saw in the business, when I saw that man speak, that was everything for me. It's a great business, great product, blah, 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 but we got a guy at the helm who's conservative. He's he just exudes exactly what you're saying. So I agree with you. That was a really, really big deal for me. But let me ask you a question, if you don't mind. Just about, there you are. You're not going to join, and so we've got people who are listening on the call. I try to take these stories and make them applicable to people who are listening, because they will have spoken to someone, a 34-year-old know-it-all who knows he's not going to do it, right? And I get that. I understand that. I had a similar feeling. Mine was about stigma more than I'm not going to do this type of business. That's what it is. I know you don't remember specifically what it was. Was it just the fact that your pastor went around you to the family and it came back through to you through the family? Or was there a change in you at all?
No, and thinking about it a little bit more, I do remember what it was that actually got me to sign up, and that was David, the guy that originally showed it to me. Mm-hmm. That was him sitting there and telling me that this would be a huge blessing to him and to my mother-in-law's boyfriend if I would do them the favor of at least taking a look at the opportunity. Mm-hmm. And when they put it like that, it was a favor, and it was a favor that was going to take 5 minutes out of my time. It wasn't right. It wasn't something like I was going to have to change the transmission in their truck or nothing.
Right. Exactly.
I've had those favors before, but
they last a long time.
Yeah. So I took a look at it, and the fact that me signing up was going to be beneficial to them, but not only that, but I was going to have an opportunity at free electric. Now, and just to kind of give you a little bit of background, when 10 years ago, when me and my wife had met, I was living paycheck to paycheck, and it did not matter how much money I made. It was paycheck to paycheck. And when we got together, she took my ambition and my drive and kind of focused it on doing something good other than blowing my money, which is paying off debt. And so we started budgeting, and we became really big on budgeting our money. So when I saw that free electric, I instantly thought, that's a couple $100 I can spend on guns.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
But I mean, no, but seriously, it's I mean, when I saw that free electric, I said to myself that hey, if there's any bill that we can cut, I mean, I would much rather get free electric than I would, change the thermostat a few degrees during the summer, a few degrees during the winter, because I kind of like my AC during the summer and my heat during the winter, and
right.
if I was going to get it for free, well, that was going to be great.
Right. Let me just ask you one thing, or just point one thing out there for those listening from a coaching opportunity perspective. So there's a guy who knew what he wanted. He didn't. He wasn't going to be impressed by whatever, because when he was first approached, it was about him. It was about hey, Randall, you need to look at this for you. But here's where the change was. This is what I'm hearing. Is two things. So for those of you who are talking to someone like Randall and want to get them in the business, but they're being a bit stubborn, here's what changed. It was changed because it stopped being about Randall and it started to become about the person who was doing the inviting. And they used the phrase. Listen, I didn't hear them take it away from you, but I would have said, hey, listen, Randall, I know it's not for you, but it would be really helping me out. And you use the phrase, you do me a favor, if you could just take a look. Whether you do it or not is not important. If you could just take a look, it would really do me a favor. Now, I prefer the word support my business, but that's just a personal thing. It would really support my business if you would just look, because then if you meet someone who is interested, you could tell them about it. And so that's the key thing on the invite thing there, is that the fact that it stopped as soon as David, I'm assuming, or your pastor or whoever it was, stopped making it about you and making it about doing them the favor and supporting their business. You were like, yeah, of course, you're a good old boy. You're a Texan boy. You'll do anything to help a friend or to help a colleague or to help a pastor. If I said, hey, Randall, I really need your help, you'd be the first one there. And that's what was really important. And then, obviously, the icing on the cake was the free electricity. So, and forgive me for going on a little bit on there, but again, I want to make these calls relevant. And what's relevant here is how someone who was stubborn and didn't want to get in the business eventually got into the business and became an executive consultant for national consultant Paul Jenkins to go national. So someone who was stubborn, didn't want to do it, got into the business, fast-tracked to EC, and helped Paul Jenkins get to NC. So is it worth it? Is it worth being a little bit persistent? Is it worth changing your tack to not necessarily making it about Randall and making it about you and saying, hey, listen, it really do me a favor, it really support me. I know it's not for you, but if you could just take a look so you can tell other folks about it. And that's the coaching opportunity on that. And Randall, I really appreciate you being vulnerable and kind of sharing that with us. And I want to change pace a little bit here.
Sure.
We've got a little bit of your background. We've got how you got into the business. Now, I've got my pen and paper here, right here, and I'm listening and ready to hear what you got to say. You go from MC, brand new MC, to fast track EC, which is faster than 18 months, I believe, is it? I'm not sure exactly what the time is. What is the timing on it?
It's 18 months from senior consultant to executive consultant in 18 months.
Right. So you fast tracked. Did you fast track to RC and SC as well, or just to EC?
No, I fast tracked all the way up. RC, SC,
okay.
and EC.
Right. So fast track to RC is 30 days. Fast track to SC, I believe, is 60 or 90 days. I'm not sure. 90 days?
I believe it's 60.
60 days, okay. And then you fast track to EC. So here's a guy, he's a good old boy from Texas, in security, an automotive guy, whether you're a service guy or whether you are, as you say, a hood technician or whatever it is. But and hopefully I'm not being rude here, but it's not someone who's setting the world on fire. It's a regular guy, but someone who's got a strong wife with 4 kids and obviously a great wife. How did you go from MC to EC so quickly? What was your modus operandi? Guys, get your pen and paper, write this stuff down, because I don't care what he says, it's gold dust. How did you do it?
Well, Richard, I'm really glad that you asked, because when I started out in this business, I did a little bit of research beforehand. And I started looking at Michael Obey YouTube videos, and I kind of dug into that a little bit. Sean Cornett had some YouTube videos. Those were the two guys that I watched the most on YouTube. But I kind of dug in on some other things. Kind of gave me a background. It showed positives and negatives, and when I actually signed up, I knew one thing, and man, I wanted to get free energy. And so I got to talking to people. I went around, I talked to my neighbors, I talked to my family. By the way, for everybody listening, if you get a no from your family, don't take it personally. It actually took me 3 months to sign up my own father as a customer, even after I showed him that I could save him half on his electric.
No way.
So yeah, so don't take it personally if family says no. So I knew. I mean, from very early on. I mean, I was told no. So no really doesn't hurt my feelings at all. I'm not worried about hearing no. No to me is more of a criticism. It's saying no. I'm not ready, and I take a step back and I kind of look at it and say, okay, well, how can I be better? How can I explain this better, or how can I present this in a better fashion? So when the first month that I was a consultant, I started, like I said, working my friends and my family, and I started talking to people and asking them just to simply do me a favor and take a look at the opportunity. That's the way that it was approached to me, and that's the way that I took it. Now, having never done network marketing before, this was all very new to me. And so my first approach to people was more of a salesmanship type approach, and to where, I was concentrating on price, and I was concentrating on, how much money that I was going to save them. And that did pretty well for me. I got up to regional consultant in less than 30 days. I ended up being a fast track. They called me up and said, "Congratulations, you're a fast track to regional consultant." And I said, "Great. Hold up. What's a fast track?" I had no idea.
Awesome. Where was your upline? What were they doing? How come they didn't know that it was fast track? Were you on your own?
Well, no, absolutely not. I wasn't on my own. My upline has been instrumental in helping me grow my business. Nice. And it's just that, I mean, I did it in just or in less than a month, and I hadn't even met my executive consultant yet, and And all of a sudden, I'm a regional consultant, and I got a phone call from consultant support telling me that, and I was like, man, that's awesome. And my senior consultant was the guy that originally tried to show me the business was David Peacock. He's an executive consultant now.
Mm-hmm.
He sat there and he called me up and he said, Randall, you did great, man. Congratulations. Man, this is really awesome. I said, yeah, man, I'm excited. And he goes, hey, I'm sorry. He actually called me up before I became regional. I jumped ahead a little bit, but he called me up before I became regional. And he was sitting there and he was telling me congratulations on signing up for some customers. And he said, do you want to? How do you feel about challenges? I got a challenge for you. When you signed up in the business, it was the very first day of your sponsor being a regional consultant. You want to do something amazing I don't think anybody's ever done before. I've never heard of anybody to do this personally. I mean, they might have done it before, but I don't know. Mm-hmm. How would you like to beat your sponsor to senior consultant? And I said, hold up, is that possible? They said, absolutely. You're not hindered by the person that brought you into this business. Mm-hmm. Your only limitations are yourself. And I said, game on. Let's do it. I said, this is going to be
red back to a bull for you, isn't it? For sure.
Yeah. I sit there and I got to work and I started talking to people, and it really just it started happening. And I didn't even look at the no's. I don't even remember all of the no's that I got. The only thing that I remember are the yeses. I remember the yes, I'll take a look at that business and see if it's right for me. And so that's what really when you're moving with a purpose and when you're moving intentionally to grow your business, the no's just kind of fade away. And the only thing that you really focus on is the yeses, the maybes, the can you give me a call tomorrow? Those are the only things that you really focus on.
Right. And you're right, that definitely the momentum, once you get into some momentum, it kind of carries itself and it just changes your posture, and especially when you got a challenge like that. But again, this interview is all about the nitty gritty, right? And I got people listening going, yeah, I get that. This sounds great. This is awesome. But I want to get nitty gritty with you, okay? So the weekend's done. You've had the weekend with the family and your wife and the kids. You're tired. It's Monday morning. You're at work, whatever you're doing, at the nuclear power plant or whatever. It's Monday morning, and you're an MC. And we're going to cast your mind. You're young. You got a young brain. You'll remember. You're an MC, and you've got good support from your upline. My purge call that I do. I'm very interested in structure on a day-by-day basis. I'm interested in hearing people's success, but I want to know exactly what that success was made up of on Monday, on Tuesday, on Thursday. So what would make up a Monday for you before you had the momentum, but you didn't know what you were doing. You were kind of, you were just like kind of excitement on fire, whatever it is. What did you do on a Monday to get yourself to fast track to regional consultant?
So I remember this quite vividly, and because I do have a young mind. Yeah. And so when I signed up, I was gung-ho. And I was ready to get my business up and running. I was ready to get free electric. And I knew that when I went to work that I was going to have opportunity to talk to people. And being in a nuclear power plant, there was a lot of people that worked. Kind of the problem is most of them worked during the day, and I worked at night. Okay. There was still quite a lot at night. So what I did is before I even went to work, and I got to tell you, when I signed up, it was kind of hard to go to sleep so I could have enough rest to go to work that night. And
Sure.
I started thinking in my mind, and I started saying, well, I could talk to John, or I could talk to Tim, and I could talk to Ted, or I started thinking of all these people's names that I could talk to, and I said, there's absolutely no way that I'm going to remember to talk to all these people. And then it hit me, make a list. That's what David was saying, make a list. And so I pulled out a piece of paper and pulled out a pen, and I started making a list. And the list was for people that I was going to talk to that night. And so what I did, I got into work, and I started driving into work, and for the first time, I did not have my radio on. I always listen to a little country music on the way to work. And but this time I didn't. When I got into cell reception, because we live out here in the country and we have dead spots, but when I got into a good cell reception, I turned on YouTube and I started listening once again to Michael Obey and Sean Cornett.
Right.
And I started playing in my mind how I was going to present this to the people that I was going to talk to.
Right.
And I could easily, when I was at work, I could easily call up their extension and say, whatever I was going to say at the time. But I felt like it would just be a lot more personal, and I might be able to convince them a little bit better to even take a look at the opportunity, or even show me an electric bill if I was in person. And so, and the other way is, when I was in person, if they said, "Oh yeah, I can't remember my password. I've tried 4 times and I can't put it in," they can't say that when I'm in person and actually watching them. So,
right.
So I sit there and I went to these people, and that first night, I got a lot of no's, and that was fine. I said, okay, not a problem, because and what I said to myself is, sooner or later, you're going to be my customer. Sooner or later, you're going to be my consultant. And so I started talking to more people, and every night, and from day one, I started talking to every single person that was at work. They would sit there and say, "How's it going?" And I would say, "It's going great. I just started a new part-time business." And they were like, "Oh, wait. Hey, what are you doing on the side?" Everybody was very curious to know what I was doing on the side. And so I started telling them. I started a part-time energy business, and I love it. It's amazing. Honestly, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. And, so they would say, "Hey, well, what do you do exactly?" And I said, "Well, I could tell you, but I'd rather show you. I could sit here and explain it, but unless you have something to look at, you're not going to really understand." And then it was kind of funny, because later on I ended up hearing one of the national consultants say the exact same thing, and 80% visual, 20% verbal. And I said, "Man, that is exactly what I was, well, pretty much exactly what I was saying." Yeah. And so, but that was my day in and day out. I went to work with a purpose. I went to work knowing that I was going to gear a conversation towards Ambit. I was going to gear a conversation towards needing extra money, or something that I could take to the table. And basically, the way that I looked at it, and this is how I have talked to other people, is find a category or find several categories that you know and that you can guaranteed 100% gear that conversation towards Ambit.
Mm-hmm.
And then take that conversation. So let's say that you can 100% gear. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's just. You want to role play a little bit?
Sure,
Richard?
Go ahead.
All right. Name a category that you can gear a conversation towards Ambit from.
I would talk to someone about their job and whether they, wow, you've been there a long time. Do you must really like it. I'd ask them about their job.
Okay, so a job. So now let's talk about how you would talk about a job to somebody. So what category could you go from a very subtle category, non-defensive category, and by non-defensive I mean something that's not going to hit somebody's defense shield. This is somebody that you don't know. What category could you go from to talk to about jobs?
Well, I don't know if I'm understanding where you're going from. Explain to me what you mean.
Well, I'll kind of give you a background. So what I could do is I could take somebody from talking about money to talking about Ambit. I can talk to somebody about their job to get them to talk about money. I can talk to somebody about weather to get to their job.
Right.
And weather is a very non-defensive category.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is not something that I've been taught, so don't think this is coming from a professional. This is coming from me. So what I would do is we start talking about the weather, and I would make a comment. Let's say it's raining outside, and they say, "Man, is it ever going to let up?" And I would say, "Man, I'm thankful for the rain. I'm glad that it's raining. My grass really needed the rain. I'm probably going to have to mow, but hey, I'm thankful for it." The only thing with it is, sometimes at my job I got to work outside, and they say, "Well, thankful for me, I work inside, so I don't have to worry about the rain." I said, "Yeah," I said, "That's where my part-time business comes in. Right. I have a part-time energy business, and I don't have to worry about the rain or sleet or snow or ice or anything." And so immediately I went from weather to jobs to Ambit. Now, I didn't go directly and say Ambit, but I started talking about it. And I started planting the seed of part-time energy business. I don't have to worry about the weather at all. So little things like that kind of, pique somebody's interest. And so when I'm talking to somebody that's having a hard time, talking to a stranger or talking to even somebody they moderately know. Mm-hmm. That's something that I talk about. I talk about gearing conversations and how easy it is to gear a conversation. Just make those categories. Write Ambit, take a piece of paper, write Ambit in the middle of that piece of paper. And then around Ambit, just write a few categories, and it can be 1 or it can be 5. It doesn't matter. And then that you can take and talk about Ambit. Mm-hmm. So when you write those categories, branch out a little bit more. And what category, and each one that you go from is a little less evasive, a little less intrusive. I'm sorry. So and so you start out with something very, very common that you would have no problem talking to a complete stranger about, like the weather or
weather's awesome.
Yeah. It could be absolutely anything, and then just start getting a little bit further and a little bit further. And the more that you get in, the more that you're going to drop a defense shield. Because as you get in, you yourself that started out nervous is going to become more comfortable just as they're becoming more comfortable. And before you know it, you have a friendship.
Right, and you know what
you didn't even know it.
Yeah, no question. And what you could do for those, because you're pretty confident, you're pretty chatty, you've got good posture anyway. If I met you, I don't think you probably even know you don't even know a stranger because you're just such a friendly chap. But for those of you who are on the call, who are listening to Randall and thinking, well, yeah, that's fine, but I don't have that, that good old boy, conversation thing going on. What you could do as a halfway house is not even be talking about Ambit, but with just start practicing to see if you can control a conversation. And not even with, so what I'm talking about is making it on a shallow gradient. So you're not learning what you're talking about there for someone who's confident is no problem. Someone who's chatty, but maybe someone who's quieter, who's a little bit, not used to being as chatty as you are. A halfway house, because I really like your idea. I really like what you're saying, Randall, is a halfway house would be when you're chatting to your family, see if you can control the conversation. Just see if you can, take it from the game to talking about someone and their work and stuff like that. Just a little practice. So it's not the whole hog. You've got nothing to lose because you're not going to be talking to them about Ambit. But just a halfway house of how you could start a conversation about something and change it and move it to something else. Just a halfway house practice, because I think that's a great idea, Randall. But again, we got a lot of people on the call who are not as confident as chatty as you. It's kind of a nice little halfway house practice thing that maybe they could do. Plus, also, go ahead.
That's actually quite. That hits pretty close. What you're saying about not being chatty, because when I was younger, I was very shy. I was really shy, and I wasn't as chatty as what I am now, as you like to put it. I call it talkative, but I guess that's the difference between our accents. The thing is that I became this way because I saw that I didn't have anything to fear. Let me back up just a little bit further. Is I saw other people being confident, and I saw other people being very, very assured, and they walked with such authority that I wanted to be that person. And so what I started doing is I started out small, just like your advice was to start trying to gear conversations with friends, with family, just stuff that has nothing to do with Ambit. I started doing the exact same thing. And I started walking a little bit taller. And when somebody would say something that would cause me to, kind of walk away or kind of be a little introverted, I would laugh. I would, if somebody was laughing, I would laugh along with them. And what I started noticing is as I'm doing this, my confidence is starting to raise. And, before you know it, I walked into a room like I owned the room. And and I might not have had $5 in my pocket. And
right.
But before you know it, it just kind of stuck. And once it stuck, it just became habit. And once it became habit, it became personality. And once it became personality, it was me.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And then the thing is, then of course you're going to be surrounding yourself with other people who are like that, and it just becomes automatic. I saw the same thing in my wife. Very, very shy, and now she's at the front of a restaurant. And no matter who comes in, someone twice her age or whatever, she's all, full of personality. But it didn't happen overnight. But I think what you're hitting the nail on here, and this is kind of a little different as far as training is concerned. I really like this. Is that you just did it in little bites, just little pieces. You didn't all of a sudden think I've got to be that upfront postured person. you thought, well, I'll just try it a little bit. I'll just step a little bit further forward. I'll laugh with them when I'm being told I'm super quiet. Can you hear me okay, Randall?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, I've got a couple of people telling me that I'm a little quiet. So for those of you who have my cell phone number, can you tell me if I'm quiet for you as well? I'm trying to speak really loudly into the phone. I'll take it off speakerphone, see if hopefully that helps. Okay. Yeah.
Well, you're louder now, I can tell you that.
Okay, good. Yeah, I took it off the speakerphone, so hopefully. So, Paul, can you let me know if that's better, please? It's Paul, Senior Consultant Paul Mitchell, who was telling me I was a little quiet. But what I'm hearing you saying is that, you were there, you were introverted, you were quiet, and, okay, thanks, Paul. And you wanted to be that person who had a little bit more posture. Maybe not, Mr. Center of the room overnight, but just a little bit more. And I really well, first of all, thank you for your vulnerability on that. I appreciate that because I think a lot of people will appreciate that. But what you've done is these little steps to get there. You'd laugh with them when they laughed. And it became this process. And now, when you're at the last Ambit team dinner, you were in the middle of the room and everyone's around you and you are the center of attention and you're quite comfortable with that. So that's really good stuff. So for those of you who have people on your team who are quiet, or maybe you are yourself, then this little just nice shallow gradient, little step further forward, a little step further forward, laughing with someone, having a little bit more to say and posturing a little bit further forward. And, and maybe if you come to the team dinners, Randall's always there, which is awesome, take him off into the corner of a room and say, look, Randall, how did you do it? I know, Randall, you'd be happy to chat to anybody, but I've always been outgoing. I've always been confident. My dad always was, and I always copied him, but there were a lot of people who weren't, and I couldn't understand why it was, but I've got a lot of people in my business who want to be where you are. And so it's fascinating to hear how you did that. That's really, really awesome. Plus another couple of coaching opportunities you brought in there. And I'm going back about 10 minutes from what you were saying, but you also said that every day you knew who you were going to talk to that day. And I think that's very important. For those of you who are listening on the call, it's very easy for a week to go by thinking, I really should do something on my business. But you were losing sleep that you should have been having because you're thinking, I'm going to talk to this guy today, or I'm going to talk to this girl today. So maybe you didn't have a 200-name written list, but you did have 5 or 6 names of who you were intentionally going to go and talk to at your job, and I love that. So for those of you who are not getting daily momentum, instead of just looking at your big list of 200 names, have a look and think about, who am I going to talk to at work today? Where am I going to go where I can chat to someone, at the cafe where I pick up my sandwich? Who am I going to do it with? I love that intentionality, Randall. I think that's really, really good stuff. So let's move on. So you've got to a situation now where you built your business because of this daily intentionality. You used your car as a university. You turned off the radio and you listened to training. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Your invite was mediocre, but just full of excitement when you first started. I know you're genius with your invites now, but at the beginning, you were saying, well, I just kind of got this thing going on, but it's your enthusiasm and your excitement. And people say, so what is it? Tell me about it. And people come in your business. I love that. So now here you are. You're an executive consultant in your business, and you're trying to get to national. So how are you doing? What are you doing in your business now as a skilled X Games qualified consultant to build your business so you can get yourself to national? What are you doing on a daily basis now?
Well, there's a couple of steps that I want to go over real quick before I get into that, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead. Please.
And I want to talk about a little bit that happened along the road, and one of them was very, very ingrained into me from the beginning. Was when I started attending the business presentations that Paul Jenkins and Darren McClure put on, and Darren McClure always said in every single business presentation is to be laser focused on promotion. And because promotion, you with every promotion you get more money. So
Right.
You have growth in your business. You're getting paid more. You're earning more. I mean, everything's just it's growing. So he said, be laser focused on promotion. And so I took that and I loved hearing that. But as I started growing in the business and I started attending different BPs and I started business presentations, and I started attending trainings and team dinners, there was no idea who I was going to be sitting next to. And I might be sitting next to Frank Smelling. I might be sitting next to Steve Thompson or Brian McClure. And I would just kind of dig in, and I would want to know. I would just, like you say, get down to the nitty gritty. And and I was an open book, and I just opened up, and I was like, all right, guys, tell me everything I need to know. And I take a little bit from each person along the road. And Steve Thompson, and I was at the EC Fly-In, Steve Thompson was just awesome. And Carlos Marin and Frank Smelling, I don't think I could have had a dream team powerhouse bigger than those guys right there, sitting there and just pouring out everything that they had every knowledge that they had. They were just giving it all to us. And it's the same thing. When I first met Frank Smelling, it was at a business presentation, and I walked up to him, and man, I was nervous, and because I see the name on my Power Zone, and I'm like, this guy is way up there, founding consultant, but I got to ask him about an invite. And so I walked up to him, and I started talking to him, and I started realizing something. He's a regular guy.
Oh yeah.
Very open, very willing to talk to people. And and that was like that was something that helped me out, is by actually witnessing and actually being a part of that conversation that with this regular guy that just happened to be a founding consultant, just happened to make millions and millions of dollars in the business. He was just a regular guy. And so fast forwarding, what you were saying about how I'm doing the business now is, when I first started, I was intentional. I was intentional on getting free energy. I was intentional on growing a business and meeting my goals and the challenges set to me by other people. My senior consultant and my executive consultant. The thing is that I don't want anybody to get hung up and say, well, I need to set goals for people, because that's not the case. Not everybody is goals driven. And so, and not everybody can have a goal set for them by somebody else, or a challenge set for them. So the way that I am right now is I am a lot more intentional, and I'm a lot more intentional about working with people who deserve my time, other than people that need it. Mm-hmm. I want to work with workers. I want to be with people that see the opportunity, and it's not just that they see this as an opportunity, but I want to work with people that want better for themselves, because they might not see Ambit as a vehicle to their financial freedom, or their way out of debt, or their way to have a better vacation. But if they're intentional about bettering themselves, about bettering their life, I want to work with them, because that's the type of people that I want to be surrounded by. I want to be around people that want to look at that want to better themselves through personal development. I want to be around people that want to help others, and it doesn't have to be in Ambit, but I know that if they're intentional about helping other people or bettering themselves, I know that eventually they're going to be a part of it.
Yeah, and you don't actually, and this is the thing, is you don't actually need very many people like that. You know, like you, I got to spend some time with Frank back in the day, and as you know, we were officing together for quite a long time, and when Frank speaks, I shush. You know, Frank will always say when we're together, say, Rich, speak up and whatever. I'm like, Frank, you're the NC here, I'm the EC, and I'm a great believer in respecting, your upline. And if Frank's talking, I'm shush. I'm shutting up and I'm listening. And the one thing Frank talked to me about was pretty much what you're talking about, is finding those people that want to work, finding those people that can be developed into leaders, not necessarily someone you'd look at and think that is a leader in life and he'll be a leader or she'll be a leader in this business, but someone who really, really wants it, that can be cultivated into a leader. Because, I'm sure in your business, when you were working, in your jobs before, maybe you were supervising, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 people. I don't know. But now you're going to have hundreds and thousands of people who are in your business. And look at you now. Look at what a leader you are. It's because you want to make a better life. You want to make a better life for yourself. And this is what I'm doing in my business. I've got a few people that want to run. I've got a lot of people who want to work in the business. There's a few people who really, really want to run. And I talk to them every day, multiple times a day. And I'm sure you're doing the same thing.
Absolutely. The thing is that if somebody wants to outrun you, let them. You tell them to take off, and you'll meet them at the finish line. If they ever set a finish line. There are people that have no finish line. They just run because they love to. And those are the people that we're really looking for. But the thing is that, I'm very intentional in growing the business. I'm very intentional in making a better life for my kids and my wife. But I know what it's going to take. I know that it's going to take other people making a better life for themselves. And that's what I'm really geared towards, is I want other people to look back and say, kind of like I am. I want them to be in their 30s and say, wow, I don't have a mortgage. I don't have any car notes. I don't have any credit card debt. I don't have any debt to speak of. So I have no limits. I have nothing weighing me down. I'm for lack of any other terminology, I'm free. Yeah. I want people to be in that situation, and so I do a lot of coaching with, and by coaching I don't mean like coaching a baseball team or a football team or anything like that. I do a lot of personal coaching with people and trying to help them develop a game plan for their future. I talk to some 16, 17-year-olds. Usually they're friends of my little brother, and I try to help them open their mind, because there's not that one way that I was taught when I was in school. Go work 40 hours a week for 40 years and collect a pension and go home. That type of mentality is still out there, but that type of life doesn't exist anymore. So you have to look at other avenues. You have to look at other ways to make money. And so these people that we have right now at 16, 17 years old, they're going to be 18 before too long, and they're going to be the next Ambit consultants. They're going to be the next people that actually come into this program or this business head on. So I don't, I talk to them and I try to develop a game plan for them to reach financial freedom at an early age. I want people to reach it as early as possible, because I don't want them to wait until they're 65 or 70 years old in order to relax and enjoy life. I want them to enjoy and have fun at an early age.
Well, it's down to us to make sure that, yeah, exactly. I mean, you're 34 and if you're not already financially free, I'm sure you're pretty darn close to it. But Randall, we're at 10 o'clock. I don't want to obviously take too much of your time. I really appreciate I really appreciate you giving us all the time you've got. I know you've got a family there probably waiting for Dad to go and put him into bed or whatever. But I really appreciate. There was some really different coaching in there, and I really appreciate your time on that. I'm going to let you go. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for all of your vulnerability and all of your coaching. I really do appreciate that, man.
I had a pleasure. I'm glad to be on here. Thank you.
Well, I'm definitely going to have you back on because I think there's a lot more stuff that we can talk about that I think people would really appreciate. But guys, it's 10 o'clock. Sometimes the call goes on a little longer, but it's because it's for a good reason. There's some really good coaching there, and I'm not going to let Randall go if I'm getting that kind of coaching. So, guys, thank you very much for being patient, staying on the call. Hopefully, you got a lot of value from it. By all means, send me a thumbs up so we can see that you guys got some value from it as well. Guys, we've got the training coming up on October the 21st that Michelle was talking about. Make sure you get there. Make sure you get your teams there. Get your tickets from ambitlive.com. Okay, here come the thumbs up. Good job. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. Randall, they love you, man. So yeah, get to the trainings on the 21st. Again, all the details are on ambitlive.com. Get yourself registered. We've got my call coming up on Sunday. I've got a brand new victim that I'm going to be coaching for the week starting on Sunday. So guys, thank you very much. Congratulations to you, Marty. Marty, you have had a busy day today. Marty Sharty has just been texting me about some stuff, but I know he's been asking for three-ways all day, so he's been a busy boy. But, guys, thank you very, very much for getting on the call. I really appreciate it. Randall, thank you again for all of your time. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And, thank you.
Indeed, I'm gonna unmute the call if I can find the wall, so we can say thank you to Randall if I can find it here. Where is it? Here we go. If I can learn how to do this, how do I unmute it? I'm probably going to mess this up. But actually, I'm not going to unmute it because I don't know how to do it. But everybody's been giving us a thumbs up, so I really appreciate your time on this. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you on the third call on Sunday night, and we'll be having another team call next Wednesday. Guys, have a super night. Randall, thank you again, and I'll speak to you all very soon. Have a good night, guys. Good night.